helping me. It makes me feel happy. I feel wonderful about you. Thank you for loving me. I love you too.
I really hope that everyone just has a good time and we can all just make a really good week for these kids who otherwise don't get just to have fun all the time. They have so much to deal with for young kids, and they are shining stars, so I want to treat them like shining stars and make sure that they glisten and gleam and have a lot of fun this week.
Like, what should I expect, and what's like a good strategy for when kids come off the bus? How should I greet them, and when we first sit down in our cabin groups? I'll probably meditate a bit this afternoon and probably sit around and read a book and just try to center myself and get ready for all these, like, this onslaught of children.
Wow, I'm expecting a lot of excitement when the kids get off the bus. I know they'll just be screaming and so excited to be here. So I'm really excited to meet my camper. Other than that, I don't know. A lot of fun and a lot of chaos is what I'm expecting.
But I think it's gonna be great. My biggest fear is that I'm gonna like ruin the whole camp for Cody, and I'm gonna, like go home, like, oh, I ruined this camp for this kid.
Get into like the whole theater thing and doing costumes and stuff. To kind of lighten up like how I really feel about, the needs for the fact that there is a camp like this that's needed. So I guess I'm trying to lighten the mood up for myself in a lot of ways.
Expectations? I have none. I've been just totally blown away by this place. When I originally got here, I was expecting tents and it's kind of a resort. So yeah, I have no idea. I just gave up expectations. It's just beyond what I'd think.
Well, let's see, back in, I think it was 1987, I have heard that there was a special program, foster care program in San Francisco that was developed because babies with HIV were not being taken home if their birth moms couldn't take them home because the grandparents nor the extended family nor foster care wanted to bring babies infected with HIV home. And because of my lifestyle, I knew that you couldn't get HIV from a baby. So I got really ticked off and I decided that I needed to be one of those people.
I was a foster parent, and my daughter came to me. I did medically fragile infants, and my daughter came to me when she was 3 months old with a cleft lip and cleft palate. And I got her involved with medical care. She was only supposed to stay with me about 6 to 8 weeks because I only did short-term care. And then she was to either go home or go on to another home. And I got started with the surgeon and getting her cleft lip repaired, and she was a very tiny little baby. Even though she was 3 months old, she only weighed 5 pounds. And when she was 2.5, the pediatrician called us in and had a meeting with me and said he'd gotten a phone call from the health department in San Francisco. They'd been looking for this little girl, for quite a while. And he told me that he felt that she may have been exposed to a disease through a blood transfusion that the gay men in San Francisco were acquiring. While we were waiting for that to happen, she was exposed to chickenpox. And she got chickenpox, and my other kids all at the same time got chickenpox, and they got them, and 3 or 4 days later they were getting better, and they were back up and doing better. And after 3 or 4 days, she was actually getting worse and getting more spots on her, and I took her back to the doctor, and he yelled at me for coming in with a child with chickenpox, and I said, but this isn't normal, something's wrong, she's not getting better. And he goes, well, you're just neurotic, you just need to take her home and take care of her, she'll be fine, just give her this or that and she'll be fine. And I said, does this have anything to do with those tests they need to run in San Francisco? And it was like a light bulb went off in this man's head, and he went, oh my God, and he walked out of the room and he called someplace and came back like 5 minutes later and said, you need to take her right now to Children's Hospital, to the emergency room, and they're going to start experimental drugs on her right now. And she was in a coma for about 3 weeks, covered from head to toe with chickenpox. You couldn't put your hand down on her body that you didn't touch chickenpox. And My daughter was the one who actually made the connection between blood transfusions and HIV being transmitted, and so that's where her HIV came from.
It was about these children that were coming back to this hospital. It was in the Bronx. Albert Einstein was the hospital. And they were living there. These were children, 6, 7, 8, that were coming home from school and going to the hospital because they had been a part of the foster care system and they couldn't be placed. And what was happening was that when these children that had been placed in foster care were diagnosed with HIV or AIDS, nobody knew how to handle it. So the foster care parents were giving these kids back to the system. And the system wasn't far enough along to know what to do. And I personally was shocked when I read this. And then it mentioned Dr. Ari Rubenstein as having been one of the first physicians in the United States to have diagnosed the first child with AIDS. So I went back and I met with Ari, and in our conversation, he said to me, you know, what I really wanted to do, Jerry, was that I wanted to start a summer camp for these kids. And I said, well, I'll tell you, I said, I do have a relationship because with campsites because of the past, because I've done camps for children with cancer. And I said, and I might be able to convince some of them to be willing to be educated, or even one to listen and be educated and let me, you know, do a camp for kids with AIDS. And we could bring your kids to California. And with that vision in mind, in 1988, Camp Sunburst became totally focused on children with AIDS and their families.
The biggest thing about my introduction to my son Dylan is that when I walked into the room, they had him in a little isolette, and they had a placard plastered to his isolette that totally, I couldn't see him for that placard, and on it it said use gloves. And my breath just caught because that was just screaming, this baby has something really bad that you don't want to get. And my heart broke for him. And by the time I got up to him and looked down, he had these big, beautiful brown eyes that were looking up at me. And when I took him in my arms, I promised him that that kind of prejudice wouldn't ever happen again. He was very frail. He was born to a mom who had been using drugs and alcohol during her pregnancy. And he was born and diagnosed immediately with fetal alcohol syndrome. And the social workers and all talked a lot to me about the fetal alcohol syndrome, more than the HIV. And the HIV was the main thing on my mind because when we were talking and planning for his life, I never saw him beyond the age of 4 or 5 years old.
The problem with stereotypes is that they get in the way of having authentic relationships. And that's what we're trying to do, is to create authentic relationships, form connections with children, and those connections then are what allow us to heal. But the most important piece of it is, first, is that we have a really good screening process in place. So all of the potential volunteers that are going to come in and work with the campers have been thoroughly screened. When they get here for their new volunteer training, the focus is really on providing an alternative framework in which to view and perceive kids in a different light. Traditionally speaking, we use a framework that we need to kind of out-manipulate children, that they're going to try to manipulate adults into getting their needs met, and that it's our task then to kind of out-manipulate them, and then when we are no longer successful at that approach, we then punish children, and we punish them through deprivation, from removing them from our family or from our communities, inflicting pain, through corporal punishment, things of that nature. And we simply find that all that seems to really accomplish is create a distance between adults and children. So what we've done is we've shifted the framework over to one that views a child basically as a person who really has an innate desire to get along well within our community. We provide them with a lot of structure, but we balance that structure with a lot of heart. And most of the time, kids need either some combination of heart and structure in order to feel like they are part of the community, to feel that they are contributing, to feel that they are successful, but primarily to feel that they are loved. So the theme of our training is really in providing what we call loving attentiveness. The first step of that, though, however, is to bring our new volunteers here, and then through a series of experiential exercises, we help them to become aware of themselves, to become aware of their own biases, to become aware of their own prejudices, to just become aware of where they are at in themselves, and to learn about experiences that they've had in their life and the impact that those experiences have had on them. Okay, so we're all lined up. If your ancestors were forced to come to this country or forced to relocate from where they were living, step back. If you are frequently called names or ridiculed because of your race, ethnicity, class, or appearance, step back. If one or both of your grandparents were college educated, step forward. Then the second thing that we try to accomplish is to take their frame of reference and shift it into the frame of reference of a camper. Now, a lot of our kids have experienced multiple loss, a lot of grief, a lot of unresolved issues, and in addition to that, they also are anticipating experiencing more loss. And so when we have a group of new volunteers that are particularly young, that haven't necessarily had a lot of experience with grief and with loss, it's important that we provide them with some type of insight as to where these kids are coming from. So we try to let our volunteers know what the frame of reference is like and what particular lenses our campers are viewing life and their experience here at camp through. And then once we have that connection kind of going on, we develop a community where we put the children in the center. And at the center are all of these kids that simply need love. And we ask our counselors to throw every piece of loving energy that they have into the very center of that group, into the center of our camp, into the center of our community, into the center of the culture that we're trying to create here.
The training has been amazing. What sets Camp Sunburst apart from all the other camps is they don't just focus on structure. It's really a balance of love and heart with the structure. And that's something a lot of other camps don't do. They're just focused on at this minute you have to be here, at this minute you have to be here. And we're a little more organic in our method where we want to balance.
A lot of this stuff made me think. You know, it was definitely, it definitely showed me how ignorant I was. Not just to HIV/AIDS, but just to how to approach situations, because I grew up in a totally different circumstance.
What has been really an important piece of sustaining the Camp Sunburst community has been the foundation of it being built as a community within a circle. How each one of the members of the Camp Sunburst community are the rim of the circle, and how we hold the intention for the week in our center, and how each one of us uniquely brings to that center and that intention who we are, our life experiences, our hopes, our values, our dreams, but how during that time at camp we all hold the same intention for creating this safe space for children and families living with HIV and AIDS. You know, our model is a holistic approach to healing, which is looking at the whole self and looking at you from who you are, from your well point, not from your sick point, and from your spirit, emotional, and physical well-being as well.
That's not my kind of thing, but I'll respect other people's beliefs and what they like to do, and I'll just go with it. But it's nothing really for me at all.
The circles have helped me, I think, cleanse a lot. They've helped me find some peace, ask some necessary questions, and feel better about the people I'm around and be more comfortable just around new people. They really helped a lot.
Oh, at first it was so intense. I am normally like this. Back away, don't touch me. And from like the first circle we got here, everyone's holding hands and singing songs. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna embarrass myself sooner or later, so I'm just gonna let loose, you know. So it was intense, but in a very positive way. Very positive way.
The circle, I've done a circle like that before, but it was in like a Native American community, and just like the circle here, they're both, like, I find the circle to be really healing for everyone, not just like because of what I shared and what other people shared, but just knowing that there was a place where we could all share that and have that opportunity, because there's not very many places where your deepest feelings can be heard and respected by other people and kept confidential, especially. So that was intense for me too.
We are the ones we've been waiting. We are the ones, we are the ones we've been waiting. Thank you. Come on, everybody, let's walk down. They're your kids.
In that bus, I have them singing. I have them, sometimes it's just, and I have some of them who are asking me, especially the little ones, are we there yet? Are we there yet? For 2 hours. And I'm like, no, we're not there yet. It's okay. Are we there yet? Are we there? You just asked me that, honey. Almost there, almost. Just hanging. So I'm thinking, okay, let's think another song. Let's get another song out. Because they just can't, the enthusiasm can't wait. And then when they get there, all that energy, all that enthusiasm just pours out. And then obviously the volunteers, they have their own energy and enthusiasm. They also have their nerves going on. But when they see the energy of the kids, it all goes away. Granted, some children are more challenging than others, and they will challenge the boundaries of counselors. But in overall, whether it's a challenging child or just a cuddly one of those that I want to be cuddled all the time, the experience and the growth experience for the counselor is enormous. The children just want to be able to have a chance to play. They want to have an opportunity to have somebody devote 24 hours a day for those 7 days for me, and only me. You're going to talk to me, you're going to play with me, you're going to eat with me. Oh my gosh, what a beauty. They can't, even with the best intention of a parent can't do that for a child. We can for those 6 days, only 6 days of the year, but we can do that. So they know it. The children who have been to camp before, they know it. They're like just eager. Can we have camp, all year round? They know the love they get.
If you are out there with even a dragon tail or a hat, a crazy hat or a boa, and they see you and they say, that's my counselor, they are immediately already set to have a good time, because they're like, my counselor knows how to have fun. I know how to have fun. We're going to have a great week. Seriously.
This is Camp Sunburst.
Why a summer camp? Well, it really provided an opportunity to create and look at how to create a system of support while they were at camp. What other kinds of needs, such as respite care, parents being able to just be themselves, not have to worry about their kids, be able to see their kids having a good time, enjoying themselves, and still being cared for medically. For parents to be able to receive the mental health support that they needed, the education that they needed around how to advocate better for their kids with physicians, how to, look at just the care of themselves and their children, how to meet other parents, how to network. So it provided an opportunity too, because it was a multicultural group, for people to get together and also provide us with insights and tools around the barriers that they were feeling as a group that was a hidden population within the HIV community. So it was a really very equal exchange of growth, of learning and giving to each other.
I'm glad to be here, and my name is Jalen.
That is a bunny. Can I write your name on it?
My name is Harriet.
Dylan's been at Camp Sunburst. He started when he was 5.5 years old. Bundle of energy. We couldn't wait to come, mostly from other parents and other kids talking to Dylan about how great the camp was. So he had a ball. I mean, he has a ball each and every time, and I do too.
So it was wonderful. But when Tanya was 7, she got to come to Camp Sunburst for the very first time, and she just blossomed here. She loved it here. This was her other family, and she was able to keep in contact with her counselors after camp. They would come and visit and take her out places throughout the year. Sunburst had a Christmas party, and they just had other get-togethers where we could all be together. And I looked at it too as my second family, because it was a place where I could come and I could finally just be a parent and watch my child play. I didn't have to worry about getting her meds to her and making sure she was okay, because there were lots of people doing that. I could just sit back and enjoy her and watch her play. And she came here and she met with Harmony, and she started writing music, and she sang songs. She had a beautiful, beautiful singing voice. It was just wonderful to see her get up in front of everyone and entertain. And she used to bring tears to people's eyes because she would sing and dance, and she was so talented. She actually was able, through the camp, they made arrangements for her to appear in San Francisco in the Phantom of the Opera. She was actually able to be in that through Camp Sunburst.
And when these families join us and become part of the circle, we hold each other during that week together with that same intention. And as we do that, the energy that's created, the spirit that is created, is sustained during that time period. And part of the model is that at the end of the week, even though the circle dispenses and people go on their ways back into their community, we're still holding each other. And when we come back as that community. And so that intention remains throughout the year. And those bonds that we have built throughout the year continue, year after year after year. And because of that, there's been a tremendous sustainability of people that return and return and return and return, because of the support that they receive as part of that circle that has been built of community during that week.
I've been a nurse at Camp Sunburst for about 18 years. Gosh, initially the kids were so sick, and we would have them out on our porch with IVs going there, IV antibiotics, and have them all covered up, and then other kids would come and sing to them, and it was very touching. So when I first started, I actually started as a nurse counselor. So I had a camper that was fragile. Only he was fragile like a whirling dervish fragile, and trying to keep up with him and his meds, and it was quite an adventure. And then the next time I came back to camp, the medical director had dropped out, and I ended up being the medical director. So, and I didn't really have an idea how to do it or how to create So just with all the other nurses that have come over the years, we've put together a program. And we've got all kinds of different things for the kids. I brought a bunch of books this time, and the kids are loving it. So a lot of our kids, need quiet time. So having books or having games is a good thing. We can pace them, help them pace themselves a little bit. This is one camper that brought his medications for the week, and so there's all kinds of different bottles and in here of the different medications. And along with HIV, the child might have asthma, they might have some diabetic issues, they might there's other issues going on. So we're dealing with all of that. Also psychosocial issues. Some of the kids are taking like Ritalin or Adderall, for different, because some of our kids are also drug affected kids. So that really affects their activity and their behavior. And then we also have children that are here because they're affected. So we have infected children with HIV, and we have children who are affected. Either their parents or maybe one of their brothers or sisters have it, and they come along. And a lot of them have health issues. So our job is just that, number one, I feel like we have a great deal of trust that the parent gives us, that we will give the medications and we'll, keep their kids healthy and safe. So we try and do it exactly like they would want us to do it.
So they were always there for us, and they were there for the other members of the family. It wasn't just my infected child. It was all my children were allowed to come to camp. And my older daughter, Becky, came with Tanya for quite a while till she got older and had interests of her own. And then my younger son, Andrew, was here. And Andrew also had a life-threatening illness where he didn't manufacture red blood cells. So he was just incorporated into the camp atmosphere also. They helped with his meds. He had to wear a pump every night that it was injected into his stomach, and he carried this little backpack on his back. And I had to do that every day of his life. Except when I was here at Camp Sunburst, he would go over, check in at Club Med, and the nurses would take care of his pump for me. And he loved not having me do it. He loved getting the attention and being so brave and having somebody else do it. So it was a wonderful thing for our whole family.
Actually, I've been very impressed with the children because they are very, very knowledgeable about all their medications, and they know a lot about the different routines, and so it just really makes my job a lot easier because they're so cooperative. And a lot of times giving their medications during meal times, and so I'll go down to the cafeteria with their medicines in a little pouch, and most of the times the kids know after they've had something to eat, their pills are going to come, and I just slip them their medicines, and they're very cooperative. And I come from Kenya in East Africa, where HIV and AIDS is definitely a really big issue. And my goal within the next few years, as I get more experience and more education, is I would plan to go back to Kenya. And I know that this experience is definitely going to teach me a lot.
Dylan is now 18. He turned 18 and graduated high school this year. Incredible. Another milestone, definitely. And he wanted to come back to Camp Sunburst, and he wanted to come as a counselor and help with the other kids. His heart is so big, and he's so compassionate. And a lot of that is because he's been around incredible angels that come to Camp Sunburst and who hold us and teach him and love him, and it's wonderful here. Yeah.
It's amazing. These kids are wild. They're like wanting to go everywhere, and I'd go with them and just say, "Where do you want to go?" And it's amazing how much energy they have. It reminds me of how much energy I had when I was younger. So I've had a couple people, counselors, come up to me and say, "Can you help my kid with this wound?" I'd be like, "Sure, let me get my gloves out," and I'd help him. So it was amazing to see the counselors come up to me instead of someone else to help them with their, you know. So, yeah.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to picture this deck in your mind. Picture that deck in your mind, and I want you to now push it apart a little bit so you actually see the imaginary 4 of diamonds. We don't even need that card anymore. I'll take that card from you.
I'm Shirley Cadden. I'm 22 years old. I was born HIV positive in Washington, D.C. I was born in 1986. So, of course, at that time, there was very little knowledge of HIV and AIDS, so a lot of people weren't very accepting to the disease. It was one of those things where you went to school and you told someone you had AIDS, you would possibly get kicked out of school. And so I've experienced different things of that nature in the beginning, so it has been kind of hard. When I was 7 years old, I started coming to Camp Sunburst, and it was the most important week for me as a child growing up. I grew up in foster care, and not the kind where, you know, someone adopts you and you stay in one home and it's nice and peaceful. I went from home to home. I had so many different issues. It was really, really difficult for me. So that 1 week every summer when I came to Camp Sunburst, it was the most important thing for me in the world. So from the time I was 7 until the time I was about 18 years old, I kept coming to Camp Sunburst every year. And when I turned 18, I decided, you know, I wanted to come back and give back to the community. So every summer I volunteer my time and my services, and I come to Camp Sunburst for a week or 2 weeks, and I work as a camp counselor, helping the children who are here and giving them back what Camp Sunburst gave to me as a child. This year I work with the older girls, which has changed for me. I usually work with younger campers, but this year I'm in the cabin. All of my girls are 12. One will be 12 on Sunday. So all of the girls have been coming to Camp Sunburst for about 4 or 5 years themselves, so they all know the routine. And they all, you know, they all really look up to me. I mean, even though they think I'm a teenager, some of them think I'm like 18 or 19, they know that, you know, I'm positive. I've come to Camp Sunburst. They know that I went here when I was a little girl. They see me take my meds. Like when I go to Club Med, I invite them to come with me so that they can see me, like watch me take my medicine, and, you know, so that they know, oh, it's not just something that the counselors tell us, but if they actually see someone taking their medication, doing what they got to do, drinking water, then they'll be like, oh, okay. You know, maybe if I take my meds and do what I need to do, then I'll be able to grow up and be strong. Yes, I'm in college part-time. I actually work full-time. I'm a teacher's assistant at a charter school. I work with pre-K, and I love doing that. So I'm in college part-time, and I have my license, which I just got last year. And I'm doing what I need to do. And I didn't live the typical life. I didn't get my license at 16, and my parents gave me a car and graduate college at 21, and none of that happened for me. I'm doing everything on my own, and I'm still getting it done. So I think that's what's important.
I came to camp so idealistic, and I thought this was going to be just an experience where every single day something miraculous would happen, and I'd have an epiphany every evening, and I'd wake up feeling renewed and rejoicing about the world and all the people in it. I think I spent my first 2 nights in tears solidly for maybe about 4 or 5 hours, just feeling so overwhelmed by the entire camp experience. And I had a very difficult camper, and I started to realize that, wait a second, this is a community. It doesn't mean I have this one child and she's mine. It's that I'm sort of watching out for her specifically, but all these other people are here to support me. And my camper just blossomed, and she went from being a hellraiser to being just this sweet, wonderful 6-year-old.
We like to think of ourselves as a musical tribe, a musical community, and that means that we sing songs before every meal. We sing songs in the evening before going to sleep. We have lullabies in the cabin. But one of the most amazing things about this community is that pretty much everybody writes songs at one time or another. Like there were these 3 boys who were with me at camp from the time they were about 7, and they were way too cool to write songs. They were boys. They wanted to play basketball, they wanted to do all these things, and they pretty much ignored me, and that was fine. I just wanted them to have a good time. But each one of them, when they reached about 11 or 12, they knew that they were going to die that year. And they came to me and said, I want to write a song. And I felt like so honored to get their songs. I mean, Joey B, he wrote it's a famous anthem around here. It sucks, it really, really sucks. You know, it's about being sick and meds and all the things you have to go through. And I mean, I think his song speaks for every kid who's ever had to go through a lot of hospitalization and horrible medication.
Oh, how about this? Let's see. I've got a new hat. Thanks to you, Pat. Let's do it. I've got a new hat. Thanks to you, Pat. Something, 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 something. We're at the carnival. We're at the carnival. We're having lots of fun. We're at the carnival. We're at the carnival. We're having lots of fun. I've got a new hat. Thanks to you, Pat. And lots of prizes too. There's lots of games we can play. And get Sunburst all day long. We're at the carnival. We're at the carnival. We're having lots of fun. We're at the carnival. We're at the carnival. We're having lots of fun. We thank you, Cindy, for all you've done. We're having so much fun. We thank you, Cindy, for all you've done. We're having so much fun. We're at the carnival. We're at the carnival. We're having lots of fun. We're at the carnival. We're at the carnival. We're having so much
Well, we started about 20 years ago the Camp Sunburst Names Quilt project, and it is part of the Names Quilt, the National Names Quilt project. But we have our own quilts that we have made over the years as we have lost campers and counselors and parents. And then it continued to be a part of our Sunburst program, where every so often, every so many years, we get together and we make another quilt for our kids and our family, our Sunburst family that have died, counselors included.
My daughter Tanya passed away in 1985, in 2005. 2005. It's only been 3 years, but I'm here now with my 2 grandchildren. Tanya's 2 little kids. One is 8 and one is 6. And thank goodness both those children are negative. It's just an amazing thing for me to know that now this is something that their mom has had the opportunity to experience, and now these 2 little kids are going to have that same love in their life and that same experience.
I like this.
Stop burning your hair.
There's so much beneath the surface here, but I can guarantee you that each one of these very, full of grace, beautiful kids has had way more than their share of very, very, very hard things.
HIV first popped up in my family when my mom was 2 months pregnant with me. My dad was a speed freak back then, and he would share dirty needles. And when my mom was a couple months pregnant with me, the doctors told my dad he was HIV positive. And he's had it now for 19 years. And my mom, at the time, was madly in love with my dad, and they decided they were going to do this stupid Romeo and Juliet thing and not be safe. And if my mom got it, she got it. She didn't, she didn't. She's had it now for 17 years. And when I was about almost 2 years old, she got pregnant again. And the doctors told her the baby wouldn't live, so she had an abortion. And then a few months later, she got pregnant with my little brother. And she decided she couldn't go through with it again. And so she had my brother. And growing up, doctors were always saying he wouldn't live, he wouldn't survive. And so I pushed him away as much as possible. I was mean to him. I didn't want to get close. And he's had it. He's 16 now. He's been AIDS positive since he was a few months old. He got a really bad virus, and so his T cells dropped really bad. But he's healthy now. He went through brain surgery a few months ago, but I've been clean. I've been negative my whole life. I go get tested like every other year. And like growing up, my brother and me, we grew up with our grandmother. And like whenever my brother would get a cut or a scrape, my grandma always took care of it. And whenever he was sick, my grandma took care of it. And it was hard because I mean I've heard all like at school, because I'm open about it. I always hated growing up and like getting close to somebody and becoming friends with them, and then they finding out about my family, and then boom, they can't play with me anymore. And so finally I just started, when I first meet people, I just inform them of my family status. And if they can handle it, then they become my friends. And if they can't, well, I don't want to waste my time with them. And yeah, so it's normally something I always tell people right away. And I've got a lot of good friends now. I mean, I got friends that hang out with my brother and stuff. And my boyfriend's really nice with him and stuff. Brother, we take good care of him. He takes, I think, 22, 23 pills a day. He goes to the doctors every 3 months to get his blood tested. And it's hard. I'm always terrified, like, no one would ever want to be with my brother because of it. I'm always terrified of that. I'm always terrified that he's going to be alone his whole life. And I'm always terrified that no one's going to understand. And I'm always scared of the day when I have to bury my family, because I don't know when it's going to be. I mean, my brother's had pneumonia 12, 14 times, and every time he goes into the hospital for about a month. And it's hard, always seeing him there, and he's always hooked up to all these machines. And my dad, I remember a few times Dad got really, really sick, and we didn't know if he'd make it or not. Last year I had a really hard time. I tried to commit suicide. And my angel was my little brother. Because growing up, I've always had to take care of him. I've always had to protect him. And it's hard. And it's hard being the role model because I'm the oldest, and it's hard having to try and be perfect all the time to make sure they don't make the same mistakes. And I got overwhelmed. I was having problems with my parents. I was having problems at home. I was having problems with school, and I couldn't take it. So I now have a scar for the rest of my life. And the one reason why I think I didn't go through with it, why I stopped myself at the last moment, was my little brother. Who else is going to watch over him? And so in my song, I was writing, most of it, it's talking about how I've always felt my life. I've always felt lost and alone until I came to Sunburst. I was 13 the first year I came to camp. And I'd never been able to hang out with kids and not have to worry about their care. And I come to Sunburst and I'm home. I'm with my family, and it's great to be able to just be yourself and not have to hide. And it's great, like in my song says, hiding day by day. And I don't have to do that here. I don't have to try and pretend, and I don't have to try and hide anything, and I can be open, and they don't care if my family has it. They don't care if I do or not. And, well, they're happy that I don't, but I mean, if I did, they wouldn't care. They'd still treat me the exact same way and normal as anyone else. Well, it started out originally as I was just going to write a poem, and the first verse started out as the poem. It was about me, and then I decided I wanted to try writing a song because I'd never tried it before, and I just started thinking about different things, and I started about how it was when my brother went into the hospital, and so I wrote a section about that, and then I wrote another section about me, but I didn't want to go back to what I'd already done, so I just made it universal. There's a child that cries in the dark. She's lost and cold and all alone, trying hard to find her way. Tired of hiding day by day, she looks out the window to the stars and she cries. Angels come and save me, shine your light upon me, wipe away my tears and take me by the hand, lead me through another day. There's a child that lays in the light. He's small and scared and very tired. The doctors tell the news. The treatment isn't working, so he looks out the window to the stars and he cries. Angels come and save me, shine your light upon me, wipe away my tears and take me by the hand, lead me through another day. There's a soul that exists in torment. It screams and bleeds and rages, torn by so many rough hands, and never find a path to peace. It looks out the window to the stars and it cries. Angels come and save me, shine your light upon me, wipe away my tears and take me by the hand, lead me to another day. Angels come and save me, shine your light upon me, wipe away my tears and take me by the hand, lead me to another day. Angels come and save me, shine your light upon me, wipe away my tears and take me by the hand, lead me to another day. Take me by the hand, lead me to another day. Take me by the hand, lead me
me to another day. Take a bow. Wonderful job tonight, all of us. Thank you. Take a big bow, everybody. Thank you to all the incredible help we got today.
They need hugs, they need smiles, they need someone to cry with them, they need someone to hold them, they need someone to play with them, they need someone to feed them and wash their hands and make sure they brush their teeth, and they need someone to play with. So come.
Thank you for helping me. It makes me feel happy. I feel wonderful about you. Thank you for loving me. I love you too. Thank you for loving me. I love you too. It's fun. What's most fun, I think, is at night. We usually tell stories and read books and whatnot. We get to tell what we like the most at camp, and that's about it.
You are good at